Really? Daniel.
At the beginning of the movie, we are introduced to Dan Morgan, a guy who looks like the definition of ordinary. He works at a car dealership in Buffalo, New York. He's won Salesman of the Month so many times, the trophy practically has his name engraved permanently.
Are you Salesman of the Month?
He doesn't just sell cars, he reads people. He studies what they want, what they fear, what they dream about, and then uses that to close the deal every single time. He's smooth, calculated, and very good at his job. But here's the thing, nobody in that dealership knows the reason Dan is so good at understanding people isn't because he took a sales course. It's because he was trained to. We'll get to that, because right now, Dan has one thing on his mind, getting home to celebrate his wedding anniversary with his wife, Jessica. At home, we see the full picture of Dan's life. A comfortable house in a quiet suburban neighborhood, 3 kids, a life that looks perfect from the outside. His eldest daughter, Nena, is smart and driven, or at least, she used to be. She'd been working her way up to editor of her school paper, chasing a real future in journalism. But lately, she's been letting that dream slip, all because of a boyfriend named Trevor who has a suspicious amount of influence over her decisions. Dan notices. It bothers him more than he lets on. Then there's Kyle, a teenage boy who barely speaks 2 words to his father. There's a wall between them that neither knows how to break through. Dan made Kyle quit video games, convinced it was a waste of time, so Kyle, instead of making new friends like his dad hoped, has been quietly sneaking to his friend Samir's garage every chance he gets. Because Kyle has a secret. And then there's little Max, the youngest still in diapers, completely unaware his family is about to have the most insane week of their lives. Dan and Jessica's anniversary tradition is simple. Every year, the carnival. Same rides, same food, same feeling. Dan loves it. He's a creature of habit. Jessica loves him, but she's starting to feel like their entire life is running on a loop. At the carnival, something happens that shifts the whole night. While Dan and Jessica share a quiet moment together, some guy nearby snaps a photo of them without permission. Just invades their moment without a second thought. Dan calmly asks him to delete it. The guy doesn't just refuse. He posts the photo online, calls Dan a loser, then deliberately spills his drink all over him. Now here's what's fascinating about this scene. Watch Dan's face, because for just a split second, something flickers behind his eyes. Something cold and ancient and dangerous. And then, just as quickly, he shuts it down, takes a breath, walks away. Jessica says she didn't want him to fight, but later that night, lying next to a wife who's already fallen asleep, Dan stares at the ceiling and mutters that he should have handled that differently. Jessica laughs. She agrees jokingly, but neither of them is fully joking. The next morning, Jessica heads to a kickboxing class to burn off frustration. That's where she meets Gwen, a sharp, charming woman visiting Buffalo for reasons she keeps slightly vague. They connect almost instantly, especially after Jessica accidentally lands a punch square on Gwen's face. Over smoothies, Jessica opens up. She talks about feeling stuck. About how she used to want to travel, experience life, and somehow ended up in the same city, the same house, the same routine, year after year. She loves Dan, but she craves something more than comfortable. Gwen hands her a business card before rushing to catch a flight. She's a travel agent, apparently. What a coincidence. Or is it? Meanwhile, Dan is running errands with Max when something unsettling happens. He notices a man watching him. Not the casual glance of a stranger. This is deliberate, targeted. The man moves toward him with intent. What happens next shocks everyone nearby. Even with a baby in his arms, Dan neutralizes the threat with speed and precision that is absolutely not something you learn from selling cars. Calm, efficient, like muscle memory kicking in after years of dormancy. Driving home, his mind is racing. He goes straight to a hidden compartment in the house. Inside, weapons, cash, multiple passports under different names, a life he buried a long time ago. He calls a man named Augie, an old contact from a world Dan thought he'd left behind forever. Augie delivers news that turns Dan's blood cold. His former boss, a man named McCaffrey, has been searching for him for a long time, and that carnival photo posted online, it may have just handed McCaffrey his exact location. Dan has maybe 72 hours before McCaffrey's people close in. One move: get the family out, get new identities, disappear. And he knows exactly how to sell the idea. What follows is one of the most entertaining sequences in the film Dan Morgan, professional assassin, using car salesman charm to convince his completely oblivious family to take a spontaneous road trip to Las Vegas. He picks up Nena from school first, but not before learning she hasn't been the newspaper editor for 3 months. Trevor's influence, quietly draining away everything she used to be. Dan is disappointed, but there's no time. He swings by the chess club for Kyle, only to find Kyle quit that too. Following a hunch, he tracks Kyle to Samir's garage. That's where the secret comes out. Kyle quiet, withdrawn, barely talks to his dad. Kyle is actually Killboy, one of the most popular gaming streamers online. He's been paying Samir rent to use the garage as his studio, building a massive following his family knows nothing about. Dan files that away and moves forward. He rounds up the kids and makes them a deal they can't refuse. Act excited about Vegas in front of Jessica, or he exposes everything they've been hiding. At Jessica's workplace, he turns on every bit of charm he has. He pitches her the spontaneous trip she's always dreamed of right now. No planning, just go. Jessica looks at her husband like she's seeing a stranger, a good stranger, the kind she fell in love with. She says yes. They barely make it out of the parking lot before McCaffrey's people show up. What follows is a car chase Dan somehow narrates as a series of completely reasonable driving decisions to a very confused family. A squirrel jumped out. Just checking the oil real quick. He spots a tracking device on the vehicle, removes it while his family is literally still sitting in the car, and then in a moment of pure genius attaches it to his colleague Hal's car, right as Hal heads out for a freeway test drive. McCaffrey's men chase the wrong vehicle. The family hits the road. To keep them off the grid, Dan collects everyone's phones, including his own, and throws them away. No social media, no location sharing, no digital footprint. The kids are furious. Jessica is suspicious but intrigued. What happens next surprises everyone. Freed from their screens, the Morgans actually talk to each other. They navigate with paper maps. They sing together in the van badly, loudly, completely unself-consciously. For the first time in years, they are genuinely present with each other. All while McCaffrey, now personally involved, is tracking them down through Kyle's online identity as Killboy. The trip detours when Nana pushes to stop at the college where Trevor goes to school. Jessica has zero interest in seeing the boyfriend she can't stand, but they stop. The campus is stunning, alive with energy and possibility. Jessica ends up connecting with a group of students and, in a moment that leaves the entire family speechless, does a keg stand that would make her 20-year-old self proud. Nana is equal parts mortified and secretly impressed. Then comes the moment that changes everything for her. She finds Trevor. Trevor is with someone else. His excuse? Monogamy is just a social construct. He figured she was on the same page. She was not on the same page. Nana walks back to the van devastated. Dan tries to comfort her the way fathers do, with words and perspective that land flat when your heart is broken. Then he does something better. He teaches her a move, a precise technique from an obscure martial art that causes real pain without leaving a mark. He doesn't explain how he knows it. Nana goes back, uses it, takes a photo as evidence. She returns to the van walking just a little taller. Back on the road, something is shifting in the family. Kyle and Dan finally have a real conversation about streaming. Kyle explains what it actually takes, the skill, the reflexes, the community. He challenges Dan to laser tag. If Kyle wins, the gaming ban is lifted. If Dan wins, Kyle plays catch in the backyard for 6 months. Dan, professionally trained to move through spaces undetected, should win easily. And he almost does. But Kyle watches him, studies his patterns, adapts. Dan wins, just barely. And watching his son think and move and respond in real time, Dan finally understands something he'd been too stubborn to see. By the time they reach Las Vegas and check into a stunning suite, the road trip has done something none of them planned. It has made them closer than they've been in years, which makes what's about to happen so much harder. Dan meets Augie downstairs and picks up the new identities, new names, one-way tickets to Vancouver, a complete erasure of everything they've built. He plans to tell Jessica the truth over a romantic dinner at a French restaurant. He tries, multiple times. The words keep getting stuck. He accidentally slips into French with the waiter. Then, with Jessica, who doesn't understand a word but finds it completely captivating. He loses his nerve. They go gambling instead. Later, checking on the kids, he finds dummies propped under blankets in their beds. Before he can process that, armed men appear in the suite. They've found him. Dan fights them off. A tequila bottle becomes a weapon. Love Mist becomes a tactical asset. And the man who sold cars in Buffalo moves through the hotel room like something out of a nightmare. Then one of the attackers calls him by a name Jessica has never heard. Sean. Jessica is standing right there. The truth is out. Jessica doesn't scream. She picks herself up, remembers the attacker mentioned HyperX, and marches straight to the gaming arena to find her kids. Kyle is in the middle of winning a tournament. He has no idea his family is looking for him. When Dan and Jessica finally collect the kids and step out into the Vegas night, Dan tells them everything. Before he met their mother, he was a covert assassin. He worked for McCaffrey. He is responsible for 43 deaths. He left that life, built a new one, and has been running from it ever since. The kids don't believe him, until someone shoots at them. Kyle vomits. Don't worry, Jessica tells him. Everyone does the first time. The family fractures. Jessica takes the kids and calls Gwen. A private jet is waiting. She's ready to take them somewhere safe, far from Dan and the life he hid from them. On the jet, Gwen starts talking about her ex in Buffalo, a man she loved who left her to build a life with someone else. She says she had to meet that woman. She got close, earned her trust, and then waited for the perfect moment to spring her trap. Jessica goes cold. She's not being rescued. She's been delivered. The meeting point is an abandoned hotel. McCaffrey waits at the top, surrounded by an army of trained operatives. Then comes the revelation that reframes the entire film. McCaffrey is Dan's father. He didn't want Dan dead because he was a liability. He wanted him back because watching Dan dismantle every operative he sent one by one over 3 days made him proud. He sees himself in his son. The offer, return to work, the family lives. But Dan never contacts them again. Dan agrees. McCaffrey sends the family toward the airport. And then the Morgan family, the same family that spent a week bickering about gaming bans and keg stands and Trevor's pathetic excuses, decides they are not leaving their father behind. Jessica stuffs a dirty diaper in a guard's face and throws him off a balcony. They go get Dan. The tech guy running McCaffrey's surveillance turns out to be Kyle's biggest fan. Kyle gets access to a drone. Dan gets eyes in the sky. The father and son, who couldn't talk to each other days ago, are now running a tactical operation together in real time. Jessica faces off against Gwen in a fight she has no business winning and digs something out of herself she forgot existed. McCaffrey has Dan beaten and pinned, gun raised. Nina steps forward. She tells her grandfather calm, genuine, that when she looks at him, she doesn't just see a killer, she sees family, something that could still be repaired. McCaffrey starts to dismiss it, but it buys Dan exactly enough time. The police arrive. McCaffrey is taken into custody. The family stands together in the wreckage of a Las Vegas penthouse, bruised, breathless, and somehow, impossibly, okay. 6 months later, everything looks different. Nina breaks a major story, an expose on McCaffrey's entire assassination network. It goes viral. Dan builds a security consulting firm, teaching skills he spent years hiding. Augie joins him. Jessica becomes a coach, channeling everything she rediscovered on this trip. Kyle keeps streaming openly, proudly, with his family fully in the loop. And the Morgans load up an RV to take Nina to Stanford. New adventure, new chapter. They hand over their phones at the start of the drive. Old tradition, new meaning. Now, if you made it all the way to the end of this video without subscribing, what are you even doing? You just watched a full breakdown, you clearly enjoy this kind of content, and you're going to leave without hitting that subscribe button? That honestly hurts. Don't do that to me. Hit subscribe, it costs you nothing, and it means everything. And drop a comment below, I want to know. Did you see the McCaffrey twist coming, or did it completely blindside you? Let me know.